Hey, it's producer Scott. A quick note at the top here. We had some difficulties with Gabe's microphone in this episode, so his sweet, dulcet tones won't sound quite as wonderful as they normally do. But don't worry, he's been self-flagellating all week, and he's assured me that this won't happen again. Now, on to the show.
Scott's got his tax return in on time. Everybody, look at that. He is happy.
I'm going to be sneakering you tonight.
Ooh, it's on me. I don't know what I did there.
So you're saying it's not a Western-themed cider convention?
And welcome to another episode of the Neutral Cider Hotel podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Cook, also known as the dumb schmuck who decided it would be a great idea to watch the Da Vinci Code at the weekend. Well, there's 2.5 hours of my life I am never going to get back. What's the point? Why was it made? I know it's a good novel and all, but it was just anyway. Anyone met Tom Hanks? Don't.
Nope, not me.
No. He must be the most boring person. I know he's a bit of like national treasure status or whatever.
Yeah,
but
can't say that about Tom.
Well,
Yeah,
you know.
it feels like this is all leading up to some self-flagellation. That's what we're going to end up with, isn't it?
Well, you know, that was the highlight. Was me pointing out. Well, yeah, because I utilised the term self-flagellation on episode whatever it was, 6 or 7 or 8. Dear listeners, let us know. And I picked that up from the book. So the words weren't mentioned in the movie. Anyway, this is going down a very boring route. Let's stick to cider, which is our area of expertise. Coming up a little bit later on the show, we'll be speaking with Kentish cider progressive Sam Nightingale and having a taste of 2 of his classic ciders, Wild Disco and Falstaff Bramley. Finally, we'll dive into the stack of listener questions and indeed answer a few of them. Indeed, a voicemail, possibly.
Oh, someone's grabbed the crack pipe. Lovely.
Goodness me, it sounds rather dangerous to me. Let's find out. But first, well, I want to talk about something very serious because this is a serious podcast. We're serious people.
Yep.
And allegedly. And what I want to talk to you about is the fact that we take it for granted that we taste all these great ciders that are well made with complexity and character and expression of land and terroir and stuff, but not every cider is a great cider. And I've had the unfortunate experience on 2 or 3 occasions over the last few weeks of a drain pour, which does literally translate as a cider or beer or wine that is only worthy of pouring down the drain. Now, I'm not talking about ciders that are maybe a little bit thin, or whereby the sweetness balance isn't quite. It's a bit too sweet, or where the tannins are a bit too robust. There's also degrees of certain amounts of subjectivity. I'm talking about things that were just downright faulty. Pour over your fish and chips kind of vinegar rather than just kind of a little bit of brisk acetic acid kind of thing. Some real kind of rank stuff. And it brought to mind that I haven't had those experiences for a while, and that's, there is an amazing contingent of great cider makers making fantastic drinks. And so maybe the likelihood of that is sort of decreasing, or with, an increasing number of new entrants into the cider category, UK and beyond, maybe this is something that we're going to see a little bit more of, actually, where there are people who are new and inexperienced, and these are some of the things that are going to come to the fore. So, Martin Grant, good evening. Hello. And
hello.
Have you had any prominent drain pour experiences of late?
Yes, I had one recently, and it was the overly acetic character of vinegar, and it was a shame with this particular cider because I'd had another one from this cider maker that was very different in style and was brilliant. And what I worry about with these situations is someone gets one of those bottles who's maybe new to cider, try it out because, maybe all they've got to go on is the label or a recommendation from someone else who's tried one of their other ciders. They pick this one up and it's like that. And they either say, completely, well, if that's what cider is, it's not for me. Or what's maybe more likely is they then ignore that producer and that maker who might have non-faulty ciders, but then why are they releasing a faulty cider in the first place?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, isn't it?
It is. It's difficult. Martin, you were gonna say something as well.
For me, I used to drain pour a lot of stuff when I was drinking beer, mainly because I was aware of how much I was drinking in the job I was in to try everything. And it got to a point where I was trying about like 20 different beers a day on a weekday. So if I didn't agree with anything, it would just be a drain pour. And that's because you're from that kind of mentality of, is this going to be acceptable in my shop? And then as the years have gone on, I've noticed I've just stopped drain pouring a lot less, but also stopped buying a lot less of the things that I might have bought that would have been drain pours, if that makes sense. I think we're in like a really good place, us three, for buying things and for like being mates with the makers who make really good stuff. And I think that's definitely influenced how much less I throw away. But there has been, I'd say, like last year I didn't pour anything away, and then this year I've poured one bottle away, and it wasn't even awful. It was just I was disappointed by it, and I thought, you know what, I don't need to drink tonight. So it's just down to kind of who you are right now, really, in my opinion.
Grant, tell me what's caught your attention this week.
So I saw, as many people probably did, a thread on Twitter from Simon Wright, previous owner, director, starter of Hawks Cidery, tweeting a thread which started with, "Now as a passionate onlooker and observer, I have been able to formulate a little view on the current state of the cider market. ... Why craft cider is not quite living up to its potential ... yet a thread ...
Oh, I thought you were going to say a threat. A threat.
No, not it wasn't threatening. It wasn't threatening at all. But I thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah,
It's a sort of 7 tweet thread, 7 or 8 point thread. And I thought it might be a good thing to discuss a couple of the points in it, and because I think some of the things he says are very on point, talking about the tax and the duty insider being a sort of prohibitive factor in growth. I'll start from the start, actually, in that what kind of annoys me a little bit about it is the first tweet being, why craft cider is not quite living up to its potential yet, rather than saying, here's how craft cider can live up to its potential. Rather than having this thread of, here's everything that's wrong, we should have more people going, right, okay, I've got an idea about how we can maybe change it,
Yeah.
Rather than just pointing out the problems, and as he says, as an onlooker and observer, and someone who has done a lot for cider, I feel like he probably is someone who has those ideas and has those opinions, and I felt like that would be a better thing to share than it just felt a bit like, here's what you're doing wrong. I'm not in it anymore, but here's what you're doing wrong.
It's almost like as well, those things have been wrong the whole time. And but a more interesting take, like you're saying, is like, I'm someone who's created a brand, Hawks, in London, and these are the challenges that I didn't conquer. Like, that's a really interesting kind of lens for me to look at. And like you're saying, that kind of positive twist. What's good is he made something out of nothing in Bermondsey, really killed it.
Yeah.
But there's in that tweet thread I saw, it was about like the kind of the pubs being owned by breweries, and actually that's like a real curse for the beer industry, because what's happened is, like everything, it becomes a monopoly. So you get 5 breweries who own countless properties that won't let the competition in. So that's not what I want. People who every cider maker that we talk to is like, oh, there's no money in it. So they're not going to then go, shall we open a bar and only sell our stuff? It's all...
Yeah, and the only cider brands that would be able to do that, they're already in all the pubs as the only cider option. So it doesn't make any sense for them to spend a whole load of money to put one tap in a place and then fill the rest of it with beer. And as you said, the small cider makers can't afford to do that either. And I know he also said in this thread about the Small Independent Brewers Association and the equivalent in cider, and that the National Association of Cider Makers isn't going to do that for the small cider makers. And that that's another reason why the kind of brewery owning, cidery owning option won't work either, because there isn't the support for small cideries to grow as in the same way there is for small breweries.
Well, yeah. So, he makes a couple of points around everyone's favourite subject here on Neutral Cider Hotel, tax.
Yes, here he is.
The
tax man.
That's it.
Oh, none of us knew that Womp was in there, Scott. Wow.
Scott's got his tax return in on time. Everybody, look at that. He is happy.
What?
I say good news.
But can we just go back to that? Scott's got his tax return in on time.
And he's happy. Yeah, I don't think either of those things are correct, by the way.
I love it.
Neither of them.
Carry on.
Top of the episode. Scott's got his tax return in.
And how many? It'll be interesting to see how many people switch off at that point in the stats.
So, Gabe, you were saying about tax.
Everyone's favourite subject, tax. In the UK, there is a review of the way that all alcohol is dutiable, and there could be some extra cost for cider makers in general, but there is the hope, the expectation that there will be a small cider makers duty relief scheme in the same way that there has been for beer since 2002, and one of the major contributors towards the tenfold increase in breweries that we've seen in the UK over that time. So
it's just so overdue, and it's like, yeah, it is a big thing that's been holding cider back from making that step that a lot of breweries did years ago when the craft beer kind of movement took off. So it's super exciting. As much as boring as tax is,
tax is never boring and is often quite exciting, as Scott will attest to. So
no, I won't.
I would like to say, I think it'd be great if Simon would come on and chat to us about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, like I say, he makes some great points, and he's someone who has taken a cidery from, a small startup in London to a pretty big national outfit. So it would be great to hear some of his positive points, some of the answers to and solutions to the problems that he raised.
Yeah, definitely. One thing as well, just to go back to it, I think with the pubs, something that a lot of them would need is a sort of backer. And I think who better to set up a cider bar than Tom Hanks?
He's got enough money after that old Da Vinci lark. The
Da Vinci lark.
The Da Vinci Code returns part 2. He's larking about. All right, everyone. That's thankfully, painfully enough for our opening gambit this week. Now, let's sharpen our pencils, flip through our notepads, and see what's happening in the news. And now it's time for the news. Chaps, what's happening in the world of cider this week?
Well, I believe we have some exciting news on the highly anticipated Cider Saloon.
No, no, we don't.
I think you
The what?
The Cider Saloon. I think you might be reading that slightly wrong.
There's about 14 O's the way Gabe wrote it, so it says Cider Saloon.
I think Gabe's he's probably going to do it better justice than I would, but I think what he means is Cider Salon.
That's a great impression.
Man, I'm out of a job. I'm in trouble here. That was excellent.
So you're saying it's not a Western-themed cider convention?
No, but all the posters are already printed, and there is an odd cowboy theme.
Yeah.
You ain't from round this party, boy.
So no, it is not the Cider Saloon.
Right,
just to clarify, if you weren't aware, the Cider Salon, the Bristol Cider Salon, has been announced. It is going to be taking place, and its new date is Saturday, the 14th of August at the Trinity Centre in Bristol, which is where the 2019 event took place. 2020 obviously didn't happen. So it's very exciting that it's going to be taking place. For anybody who hasn't been before, hasn't heard about it, it's a specialty cider pouring session where we had about 30 producers in 2019 from across the UK, and there were a few international. We had from Italy and Portugal and Sweden and the USA pouring things out of 750ml bottles, things that are just a little bit different and exuding sort of the best and most interesting and fine aspects of cider that can be found around. Grant, Martin, you were both at the 2019 event. You're big fans of it.
Yeah. The problem for me is I don't remember apparently meeting our next guest.
What do you remember?
I remember throwing up and getting naked in the toilet. That's all my memory of it is. I drank too much.
You met me.
Yeah, but that was before the event, wasn't it? That was at like the pre-drinks.
I guess so. Yeah, that was the tasting at midday that we all thought was a great idea.
And just for the record, it was about 28 or something like that. It was really sunny, and for some reason I thought, I'll open the pub and set the event up. I won't eat breakfast. I'll just walk for 4 miles, get to work, and then went and drank cider, which famously didn't go well. So my apologies to everyone that went to the last one.
I'm pretty sure everyone would have great reports of meeting you at the salon. I'm saying that because I'm hoping the same for me. Being at your tasting, but it was brilliant. I loved it. It was such I don't know, it just felt really exciting, and it felt like that it was my first time there, and first time meeting a lot of cider makers that I now know as friends, and it just it was exciting. It felt like cider was on the ascendancy, and then it was kind of just a real positive event, crammed into this tiny hall. It seems weird to even think about that now.
Sharing glasses.
Wow.
Sharing sausage rolls.
Oh my God.
But yeah, exciting.
Every drink that was there as well, because I went to both of them, but every drink has been just astounding, and every maker has been up for a laugh and a chat, and it's kind of like mad speed dating, because you've got all these makers in such a small room, and everyone behind you is bustling with the energy that you came in with. So you're like, oh, well, we got a chat. Oh my God. And before you know it, especially with me, the problem with me is they were like, oh, it's Martin. Here's some ice cider. And I can't remember who it was, but filled up a glass of ice cider. I think it was Branland. And that's there's 72 ciders, and I tried as many of them as I could. So I think I got them all. I've ticked them all on my piece of paper when I was pissed. So either I imagined it or I struggled through. So that just is an awful idea.
dare I say, the aspiration is not to try and drink every single cider that is potentially available at the salon, but to explore the range of options that are there in a sensible fashion. Yeah. But what's most important is that it is going ahead. Something really, really exciting to look forward to after, a really challenging 18 months. We're going to have circa 20 to 30 different producers pouring, dozens and dozens of these fantastic drinks. The full lineup will be announced in May. To accompany the main event itself, there is going to be a fringe event running from Tuesday the 10th to Sunday the 15th of August. There'll be a whole week of talks and tastings and dinners at independent venues across the city, showcasing Bristol as the UK's cider capital. If you are a venue in Bristol or just a keen person and you want to set up an event, then, do get in touch with the Cider Salon, and you can get your gig on the lineup.
Yeah, head to cidersaloon.co.uk/Ciderologist, and that's
17 O's in saloon. Just as a reminder, ticket prices now until the event, 25 quid plus a booking fee online, or 30 quid on the door if there are any tickets left available. We'll have to wait and see. Don't miss out. Go and book now. www.cidersalon.co.uk.
I can't wait to see what podcast events there are around the fringe. It's on me. I don't know what I did there.
As well, El Mondo del Cidro podcast.
El Mondo del Cidro.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind actually doing an evening where we just get tanked on Italian cider and try our hand at the Italian language. I'm up for that. Are you game?
I mean, that'd make for riveting listening, wouldn't it, everybody?
Probably wouldn't help your book sales too much, though, I think.
I don't know. Offending nations is something that, it's probably not in the marketing handbook.
Although we're getting good at it.
Although we are, indeed.
Offending nations.
Yes. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for the news. Coming up next is our chat and tasting with Sam Nightingale of Nightingale Cider. It's time for this week's interview, and our guest this week has been an ever-prominent voice and presence in cider's drive for modernity over the last few years. Combining the aromatic freshness intensity of Kentish fruit with controlled bar fermentations has led to the creation of some of the most crushably outstanding ciders from the last few years, I would say. So, checking into the hotel, it's the man behind Nightingale Cider. It is Mr. Sam Nightingale.
Hey!
Sam, dear boy, good to see you. Thank you for joining us here at the Neutral Cider Hotel podcast. How are you? And my first question is going to be, you're a sound guy, aren't you? Sound is your sort of first love, your first profession, and you're in good company, aren't you, Mr. Grant Hutchison, the likes of Tom Oliver. Matt Curtis as well, head sound engineer. Even Martin's days from Inverted Nipple, those were halcyon days. What is it, do you reckon, about sound and cider that makes them work so well together?
Well, what an introduction. Thanks, Gabe. Hi, guys.
Pleasure.
Can I just say I'm not a sound engineer? Can I just put that in? but carrying on.
You used to hit things with sticks.
I did hit things with sticks. I made noise. But carry on, Sam. I don't want to interrupt.
I have always had a love of sound and noise. So before I was a sound man, I grew up on a farm, and I think, I was always into nature and loved nature. So played piano when I was a kid, and then kind of did various things and kind of got into sound and went to uni and studied sound art and design. So sound's always been a huge part of my life. And kind of wildlife sound. My business before was organic sounds, and my kind of passion was wildlife sound. So that kind of idea of sense of place has kind of been a continued theme throughout my life in a way, which hopefully kind of feeds through to the cider as well.
Can we crack open a cider first of all? I think as well.
Well, first off, Sam, there's about 3 levels to here first. So I've got a can that's in 440 and it says FB on it. Is that what we're drinking? Are we drinking this tall, cold boy? Is that what's happening right now?
Martin, it's you. So you tell me.
Well, tell us about it. Tell us about it, Sam.
So Falstaff Bramley was my very first sparkling cider. And it's been a few years since we've done a sparkling version of it. So this is Falstaff Bramley sparkling in can in 440, which I'm super excited about.
Fuck.
That's so fresh and bright and Moorish.
For anyone who's ever tried to drink a Bramley cider before, they're normally painful in the level of acidity. Will quite literally make your eyes water. Sam, what have you done other than obviously blending with Falstaff, which is a little lower in acidity? What have you done, or what's important when you're working with something that's just so electric?
Well, I've diluted the Bramley with Falstaff, obviously. So Bramley as a component is fantastic, and it's a common theme in a lot of my ciders. But Falstaff is this amazing fruit-forward, beautiful, fruity eating apple, and it's little seen and come across. Not many people know the Falstaff apple because it's easily bruised, so it doesn't really make it into the kind of the eating realms. But we've had it as pollinators for years, and I started making cider with it back in about 2012, and I just always felt that it had such a strong character to it. But you balance that with the acidity of the Bramley, and it's normally about 70-30, but it depends from year to year, the blend. This is a 2019 vintage, and it's just got that lovely acidity. That's all natural acidity. Just gives it that lovely clean finish.
Yeah, dude. That to me is like if you were to have Alsace white wine and then sort of a nice traditional lemonade kind of radler. Like it's not the blend of those two things, but it's so clean, crisp, light, and then it's got this like lemony hue to it. It's just like the fact that that's in 440s is lethal for me, because I'm just like, oh, that is going to get drunk in the sunshine. There's no question about that here.
We kept on having a problem with the 330s, and certainly in my household, but I was speaking to other people who had the same problem, that just the 330s were just too smashable. And so there was really only one thing for it. Go big.
Well, I feel like all you've done is now made it so that there's more to smash. Like I would smash this as quickly as I would the 330. I think you've just exasperated the problem.
What we don't have any labels here. What ABV are we talking?
So this is 5.4.
Right.
Oh yes, sorry, that's quite useful information.
I drank all of that before you started that question, Sam. That's gone. That's I'm not even kidding.
It fit in the glass. Crushed it.
It's honestly, I mean, crushable is the word. What
really,
the fuck?
Yeah. It's just a really great, easy drink that on a hot day, getting one of these out the fridge, pouring, like Martin says, his is gone in 30 seconds. It's just so easy, so bright and fresh, and you know the lemonade that you said, Martin, is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? and
citrus kind of notes.
Those citrus notes, but without the kind of big sugar hit that you get from having lemonade, you know. And also, again, I think this is one that you could easily, you know, pair with food as you would a wine, you know. And what I think's interesting is you putting it in a can. You know, what was the switch from bottles to cans for you?
That's a good question. So I was really excited by cans. I lived in London for years. I left London 5-6 years ago, but you know, that's doing the whole craft beer scene. So I've seen that happening, and my hope for cider was always going to be that, you know, we weren't far behind it. I think we were a lot further behind it than where I thought we were a few years back. But I love my craft beer. I really enjoy it. I love the design. I just think it is so fun. So when the opportunity came along for me to put some cider in can, I just jumped at the chance. I just thought it was refreshing. It's fun. It's playful. So yeah, last year, just over 1 year ago. So Brew London last year, Gabe, you were there.
That's right.
Was where we launched Wild Disco in Cannes. And since then, cans have just taken off for us. So in a short amount of time, in a year, they've overtaken our bottle sales.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's gone really well. So to the point where I've invested in a canning line.
Here he is.
That's a way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really like putting your money where your mouth is.
I'm going to do a little bit of sourdough at home too. I've bought a bakery. Yeah, that's.
Well, the great thing is, one of my business partners is a bakery, so I've got access to sourdough on tap now.
Oh, nice! Wow,
sourdough flavored cider coming soon, everybody. So I saw that. I think it's Matt at Ascension Cider. Who's not a million miles away from you, Sam. He's just done a cider with a Kvike yeast. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Martin, is that right? Kvike?
I would say Kvek, but I also am wrong.
And for everybody else who is thinking, why are those people being very special? It's a particular kind of wild Norwegian yeast that's used for a sort of specific style of beer. But so yeah, it all comes down to the playfulness of fruit and yeast. And you do use the wild natural yeasts that are occurring, within your cidery that are coming in from the orchard, Sam. Why do you do that over utilizing a cultured yeast, out of interest?
I think the first thing that always comes to mind is because I'm a stubborn bugger and it's the way I've always done it. And I learned how to do it and I liked it, and it's been bloody painful at times, but I also think it's incredibly rewarding what comes from it. I think it taps into the kind of natural picture and that thread from the apple all the way through to the kind of to the drink. I've made it work, and I enjoy it. I think it just really gives you an opportunity to kind of, I don't know, kind of that idea of kind of, sometimes I think you get more complexity from it. I think using a cultured yeast gives you a lot of control, and I guess maybe I'm fighting against control.
Are you ever tempted to go, fuck this, I'm gonna stick a cultured yeast in here, this is not worth the effort?
I'm intrigued by some of the characteristics you can get from cultured yeast, and I definitely like to experiment more. But I guess I know the beasts that I'm working with now. But saying that, we've got a few wild cards we're going to bring into the kind of game very soon, which are going to throw everything up in the air. So who knows?
Are those secrets or?
No, I've got a
then.
pallet of barrels arriving from Speyside Cooperage on Thursday. So
nice. Here we go.
Is this your? Oh, okay.
Okay. Sorry, the horse's knowledge is obviously
Scott
not much.
Doesn't know what a barrel is.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. Here we go.
There's this chap called
It's
a Cooper.
Yeah, Alice, he's been touring for years. Carry on.
Yeah. Feed my Frankenstein.
We finally found Gabe's actual music taste. But was it the Speyside Cooperage? Scott, you initiated the pony. Now, before we put it to sleep, what's happening?
Palliative barrels?
A pallet of.
Right.
Not palliative, not end of life care. This is not like cider, the last cider that you ever drink.
If I was to choose my desert island cider.
Yeah, totally. It's what all the cool kids are drinking. Drink craft? Nah, mate. Artisan? No. Minimal intervention? Nah. I drink palliative. Yeah. Oh.
Thank God you're getting the labels changed. You're like, Wild Disco is going to become like what's it called again? Lovely Hospice.
Last rites.
Yeah.
Scott, I feel really bad. But what I thought you were getting at like the Speyside Cooperage, because
exactly.
we're going to talk about Speyside.
We'll do that.
And like
do
the
that.
regions.
Sure, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Can I propose a fresh can?
Yes.
We've gone on to what are we on to now?
We should be on Wild Disco or WD.
So WD
40, WD-40. That's
WD 440. Yeah.
All the water was displaced by cider.
We're coming up with some great new names for your future ciders here. So.
But this is a cider that I know a previous guest of ours, Matt Curtis, has said that he's just been ploughing them in cans in the 330. So the change over to 440, you were talking about the kind of the smashable and the size. How did this cider come to be? And have you always wanted it to be in 440s, or is this just like the progression in the state of it?
I think it's always wanted to be sparkling, and we've done a discovery cider for years. So a year ago, we launched Wild Disco, and it's really worked. This is a blend of two vintages, which it needs. The 19 wasn't so special, but the 20 was great, and as was the 18.
This is
so we.
Oh, sorry to cut you in, Prom. I just have to say how much I enjoy it and how different it is from the first iteration of Wild Disco. I think having the slightly the aged version is giving this real sort of bass and sort of grippiness and quite sort of intensity. Is Wild Disco has always been, and Discovery as an apple is always light and aromatic and kind of fruity and oily and doing all those wonderful things. But this has got some grunt to it as well. So this is adds a whole new dimension to it.
Before we started this, I cracked the Wild Disco in the 330s, and we were actually talking about it, saying the aromatics on that had this kind of like fruit salad sweet, like proper tutti fruity character.
Oh, I think there's some. I feel like there's more kind of perceived sweetness with this one for me, because there seems to be more. I'm getting a lot more apple flesh from this one.
It's more like you said earlier, fruit, like it's proper direct fruit rather than like sweet shop aromas.
Yeah, it's really way more kind of fruit forward than the one that we started with, which is, I think, also works better in a 440 in a larger format, because you're just gonna you're just gonna keep filling your glass if you're pouring it into one, or keep picking up your can and drinking it.
It's also a good point of difference in, like, I would drink these completely differently, even though they're the same thing. And I guess that alludes to your choices as a maker, but also the fruit in that year. But like this one, I would take my time with it more. The first one, I mean, I drank that very quickly, not as quick as the fucking beautiful one. But yeah, this is definitely the dialing back of the sugar for me, and that little kind of like bright spritzy acidity on it is just like, I'm really enjoying the pace I'm going at it now, and that may be on the back of sculling one. So
I love that kind of sour fruit punch you get from it as well. Yeah, it has got that kind of smack to it, hasn't it?
It's straight away I was like, whoa, this is different, very different from the 330 that we had at the start, and it is a punch. It's a punch of fruit. So I think you've got a story for us, right, about about meeting Martin, or about spending some time with Martin that he's maybe got less of a recollection of.
I honestly, Sam, this is the first time we've met. This is in my head.
So no. I mean, I first met Martin, was it 2 or 3 years ago? And I was honoured to be on a judging table for a certain international cider competition with the very same Mr. Martin. And so yeah, we had the pleasure of tasting through something like maybe 50, 55 ciders in a day. I think it was probably the most that I've ever had to kind of taste in a competition.
I maybe it's your effect on me, or it's that I am not good with the levels of alcohol I drink. But that was, I know a lot of spitooning goes on, but with me, like when you're tasting a cider.
There was not any spitooning from you, Martin.
It's all just dribbling down your chins.
Yeah, like a nectarine. He's fucking on the nectarines. But a big problem with those kind of competitions and that is a lot of cider for me is after you've drank it, you judge it then as well of like how it plays in the mouth and how it's stayed and when you've actually drank it. And I always find with spittoons, it just doesn't get that across. Like if I've spat it out, there's obviously some bit, but it's so different to actually drinking it. And it's the same as any drink for me. If there's a glass of it, halfway down, you kind of have a better understanding of it. And especially when you're in a critical situation of it, you're judging something, giving possibly a gold. And it's like, if you've not given it the best chance, you're like, fucking hell, I've got to...
I mean, your tasting notes were fucking up there. And as we got through the day, they got more banging and more banging. I'm not sure how many of the words were kind of bleeped out before they were sent back to the entrance.
we were talking about the salon just before you came on here, Sam.
That was the other time we met.
See, that I have no recollection of. So go on.
Go on. Yeah.
No.
Do your worst.
I think I tried to get your attention, but you were flying around like a wailing banshee. I think you were doing a very quick... You arrived late and you were doing a quick sprint around every table, so...
Well, we've discovered, just as I said before you arrived, Martin did tick off every cider on his little cider salon booklet, the last event. So, yeah. Whether what version you got of him at what point in the day, who knows?
Oh, dude, honestly, I'm not even kidding, Sam. I have blocked out half of that from my brain, and a lot of it is locked behind alcohol, but then the other half is just blocked by shame. So the whole cider salon is just this blur of like, I just felt a good hum until, like I told these guys, I got naked because I was like, I need to throw up. And in my brain, I was like, when you throw up, you don't want to throw up in your clothes. So I just started stripping, and my wife came in to the toilet. It's like, what are you doing? And I was just like, which is not the image we want to get across for fine cider.
Absolutely not.
I know. Maybe talk about the upcoming cider salon. Will you be there?
Quite. Well, I was going to say that the upcoming 2021 cider salon is a great indication of the world turning back to normal a little bit, and for lots of fun activities. Something else that is going to be turning back to normal is the opportunity to go down the pub. And Sam, I know that selling ciders into pubs is an important thing for you because you've been a really strong proponent for a few years now of great ciders in keg, and there are other cider makers who focus on different routes to market and for different product types and packaging types. I'm a big advocate of having great cider in a keg so that somebody who wants a cider by the pint or the half pint can do that and don't have to compromise. This is something that's become quite important for you. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Keg was an absolute game changer for us. It was a bit of a punt. I wanted to put cider into keg for a couple of years, and I think I'm trying to remember when we first put cider in keg. I think it was 2000. Was it 17 or 8? I think 2018, in the summer of 2018. Tiny little Grundy tank that we were kind of carbonating in. Carbonation levels all over the place, but got a few local pubs on board. And went to a few festivals and events, and it just went really well. And we had a great product. This is when we launched Nightbird, and the feedback was amazing. So we kind of took it from there. We took a leap of faith and we went for it. And I trundled down to Devon with a Land Rover and trailer and came back with a second-hand tank from Mr. Barry Butterfield.
And here he is. That'll be 1.2 million, please.
And so and that's my carbonation tank now, which is great. But we doubled capacity in the 2018 vintage. We went from 40,000 to 80,000 litres, pretty much based on the growth in keg sales. And then going into 2020 with COVID, it just went. So we're waiting to start moving those kegs again.
With the kind of sort of uptake. Grant and I have spoke about it before, where we've sold cider in keg, and it's kind of it to be blunt, it's kind of a struggle. I'm speaking for myself, not Grant. He'll talk to about it, but how do you find it? Is it mainly localized because they get the brand, and if not, do people outside of the area get craft cider in keg?
I think it's always going to be easier for a local audience. You're always fighting tide places. I mean, like my hometown has got 7 tide pubs out of 8, which makes it pretty impossible. The only place you can have a pint of my cider is the cricket club.
Really?
That's changing, but which is sad. But you've got more of an argument with that local sourcing and kind of getting them to buy into the story. And it's always about buying the story, because my keg is always going to be more expensive than the mainstream contender. You know, my price is probably going to be more expensive for 30 litres than 50 litres from the one of the big boys. But it's about provenance and story and connection. And hopefully they say, yeah, we know Sam. He comes into the pub, he drinks here. You know, oh, in fact, he's over here, which is quite often happens when I have drink in the wipers. And then
there you go.
Celebrity status? No, not at all. But
well, you mentioned about the obviously the challenges of the last 12 months, but you still managed to be incredibly innovative and resourceful by going into can for the first time, and also doing your first hopped cider as well. So if these are the creative things you can do in the challenging times, what does 2021 or the rest of the year ahead look for you? What exciting things are going to be coming out of Nightingale Cidery?
So we are working towards doing a spring launch. So we're not these 440s haven't been released yet. So we're looking to release in just under a month's time, in about 3.5 weeks. We're going to be doing a spring launch. So we're going to have 4 440s, including a new cider, which is Wild Bird, which is a dry cider in can. Wild Bird is part of a new series inspired by Ross and Little Pomona's kind of table cider. So we're going to be doing dry cider in can and then bottle conditioned version of the same cider, so which will come a few months later. We've got a new Songbird in the pipeline, and yeah, we're just going to be trying. We're going to be trying some new things, some can conditioning, because sod it, we can. And got some fantastic new partner we're going to be working with as well. Really excited. I'm going to be working with Grant from Restore.
Oh, there we go.
Leave that till the end.
There we go. Didn't even know.
Here I am saying, I'm not going to speak for Grant, but I found it a real struggle. And you're like, we're going to still with Grant.
No,
that's brilliant.
I am. I'm excited. It's and those. The Wild Bird you mentioned there is super exciting, and we were speaking on the phone about can conditioning. It's I think what you're doing is the best of what there is about cider. It's well made, fruit focused, accessible cider, presented in a format that people can understand. Well, presented in many formats, but the can focus being something that I think is a great approach. And yeah, it's exciting. And you're not a dick, so it's nice to work with people who are not dicks.
Thank you. Sam Nightingale is not a dick. Cheers.
To be hyper blunt, all of these drinks that we've had tonight, I've had 3. We've had the Wild Disco, the original one, and then these 2 440s. They have all been, a joke of how easy they are to drink. Like criminal. Like, usually we have drinks we like and the glass is like slowly emptying, and that's lovely. This is worryingly easy to drink. It's so delicious. But also all that character is like, it's not in spite of the drinkability. Like a lot of ciders I love are like big, tannic, bold, and you nurse it. How have you come about crafting this style of cider? Is it the other way around, where you've got your region where you're from and you've presented that, or have you come to it and said, this is what I'm going to make?
So my father said to me many years ago when I was early days of cider making, I kept on looking over the kind of hedge going, oh, I need to get some West Country varieties. I need some proper apples. And Dad was like, don't talk shit, Sam. Learn how to make cider properly with the fruit that you have available. These are the colours and the palate. Work with them and learn to work with them well. And he was, damn on it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that I'm doing Dad and, the palette, the colours that I have to play with justice. I've got some amazing varieties, a lot of them grown on my doorstep on our family farm. And it's an absolute joy to kind of see them kind of, coming to where they've got to. And it's been a lot of, they've come a long way, to get to now. But no, I'm really pleased with kind of how they're tasting at the moment.
And well, you should be. Absolutely. Sam, thank you so much for joining us here at the Neutral Cider Hotel. We have, as you can tell, thoroughly enjoyed your ciders. I'm really excited to see all the various sort of new blends and new products that are going to come out this year. It's going to be an exciting time ahead. So for anybody who's listening who wants to learn a little bit more about your tasty ciders, where do they head to?
You can head to www.nightingalecider.com and soon to restalkcider.com. Other outlets are available.
Yeah, but they're rubbish. Bravo. Sam, dear friend, thank you very much for joining us here at the hotel. Hope you've had a
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
We will see you soon. Okay, everybody, it's now time to answer the hard-hitting questions of you, our dear listeners. Martin, what questions do you have for us this week?
Well, we've got one, and this is, I think, a little bit of a groundbreaker for us. This is our first crack pipe user. This is
speak pipe.
No,
speak
yeah,
pipe.
well, speak pipe for comedic effect, crack pipe. But
Of course.
no, this is our first voicemail sent to us on the podcast at speakpipe.com/Neutral Cider Hotel. So, Scott, do you want to play it and we can answer the question?
Yes.
Hi, fellas. This is Chris from Seattle, Washington. I run a retail shop called PressThenPress.com. We ship cider to all the United States except for Utah. I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller on the old Speak Pipe. My question is about great cider in cans. As Eleanor and Oliver and Sam Fitz have all done so, many other cideries seem reluctant, it seems, to put their fine products into a can. And yet, there seems to be a great clamoring for cider in cans. It makes sense for the cost of container, shipping, recycling, drinking at the pool where there's no glass allowed, etc. Martin, as a former shopkeep, Grant, as a current one, and Gabraham Cannington, what are your thoughts regarding fine cider in cans and the reluctance? Surely a producer could make a 750 and a 355 mil, one in glass and one in aluminum. So what gives? Where's the industry going to go? Thanks.
So, Gabraham Canningham.
Thank you. Hello.
Master of the metallic vestibules.
Yeah.
But no, he raises a great point there about, like, I guess the range of a cider maker. But you first, Gabe. Why not the big push for cans?
Well, it's an entirely valid question, and one that is a question that I would ask myself. And the question, it was nailed then. There's nothing stopping there being a great cider in the 750 ml and also in the can too. It's a different occasion. It's a slightly different consumer. It's a different sort of tempo and attitude. It can be done, and it's starting to. We're seeing it here in the UK too, but in the States, the likes of Farnham Hill, kind of like one of the original kind of terroir orchard-based cider makers in Vermont. They've done ciders in can. So have Eden as well, and you've got the likes of sort of Shaftesbury as well. It's starting to happen. It's something that I think could and should happen a lot more.
And Grant, he brought you up he brought me up as a shopkeeper, but you as a wholesaler, going into being a shopkeep, I think it's a great insight. Like, what do you think about cider producers in can, and how would you see them fitting into your shop, Abel?
What's the name of the shop again?
The shop is called Able. Able, welcome to the Able.
You're saying
it's an exciting format for the it's exciting to see cider makers who are making wild fermented or full juice ciders going into cans, because I think it's something that is more recognizable and accessible for people who are maybe beer drinkers or cider. They drink cider that's high in sugar, or they're used to the kind of more alcopop cider. To bring those people over to the ciders that generally we speak about on the show. And also I think a 750ml format sometimes for someone to put £15, maybe even up to £20 on a bottle of something that they're not sure of is a big commitment. Whereas if you can say, right, well, I'll try it, a few of these in cans, and that might be a good way for them to get into drinking cider that's different from what they're used to having. And as the caller said there as well, in terms of shipping and displaying in stores, cans are much easier and cost less, and also recyclable. It's kind of a no-brainer, I think. And we discussed it last week about Tom Oliver. And,
Tom who?
Oh, I don't know.
Tom Hanks.
Tam Honks.
Still got one of his condoms. Carry on. I'll be self-flatulating later over that one. Go on.
Did you say flatulating?
Fuck it. Flatulent. Can you auto-flatulate?
I think the association with cider in cans being of a lower quality is changing and will continue to change, and the more that producers that we drink and talk about and talk to, the more of them that move into cans, the better it's going to be, I think, for reaching a wider audience.
Well, there we go. I hope that has gone some way to answering your question there, Chris. Thank you very much for leaving your speak pipe message. You're probably not. But for anybody who wants to get great cider across the USA, apart from Utah, go to pressthenpress.com and see what you can find. So there we go. Another week at the Neutral Cider Hotel. Thanks to Sam from Nightingales for joining us and sharing with us what I believe was a world exclusive tasting of the new Wild Disco and the new Falstaff Bramley, possibly to be called something else. Chaps, Grant, Martin, any last thoughts from you?
I hope it's called fucking brilliant, because I'm not even kidding. I drank that in seconds. That was absolutely delicious. And yeah, what a lovely guy. I promise any future cider makers or cider people on the podcast that I will endeavor to remember you when we're drunk. So, and if I don't, that's on you.
Maybe that's the name of the cider. Endeavor to remember you. I feel like that's a pretty good name for a cider.
That's like my acoustic comeback album, isn't it? Like, the ballads.
Totally.
Just endeavour to remember you.
Put it on in the coffee shop. Put on Endeavour to Remember You. I love that. I love that. It's just so chill.
It's the drummer of Inverted Nipple. He's come back with such a beautiful album.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. And if you want to learn more about this upcoming album, or indeed anything else about our fantastic podcast, you want to help tell all your friends about us, please subscribe, rate and review on your favorite podcast app. On Instagram and Facebook, we are Neutral Cider Hotel. On Twitter, we're Neutral Cider Pod. And of course, as always, you can listen online, share the love, neutralciderhotel.com. Please do leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/Neutral Cider Hotel. You can get your question read out live on the show. So there we go. Another week. Oh gosh, the Neutral Cider Hotel. It just gets better and better. Thank you so much, everybody.
Look at you. You half-assed on it. You went, oh, there you go. I fucked up. It just gets better and better. This is staying in. Guys, thank you so much for joining in. Tune in next week. Thank you.